again, and welcome back to another exciting episode of You've Gotta Hear This. Yes, we are back again. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hello, hello.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, we missed you, and then we had a week where we didn't see each other at all, and we had a week where we didn't see you, Greg.
Yeah.
How have you been?
I watched I listened to the one with Anthony. It was very entertaining.
Oh, thanks.
A lot of Limp Bizkit chatter, which I always appreciate. A lot of Billy Joel chatter, which I always appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he actually reached out to me the next day, and he purchased a bar top for his house for me for Project G Workshop. So.
Yeah, he told us he was thinking about doing that. That's cool.
And he is. So,
how are you going to get it to him on Long Island? That's going to be a challenge, huh?
Via my car.
Yep.
Oh, are you going to bring it up when you go in August?
Correct.
Personal
Cool.
delivery.
That's the kind of
delivery. That's the kind of customer service we here at Project G Workshop like to do.
Yeah.
We're going that extra mile, but this is actually the extra 536 miles.
Literally.
that's a good slogan.
Going.
You know, in Independence, there was a carpet company I would drive by every day, and they had the big marquee with the changeable letters, like with the slogan. And for 3 months, the slogan was, "Buy today, we'll probably install tomorrow."
Most honest slogan ever.
I wanted to buy carpet from them just for the sake of giving them business, because that was amazing.
Most likely, if we can get to it, we'll be there tomorrow. Maybe.
It was awesome.
There's a car dealership. There's a car dealership on Remounts, and their slogan is, "If you lived here, you'd be home by now," which which leaves me with more questions than answers.
Right.
To be honest.
Live at a car dealership.
I feel like if you worked at that car dealership, that could get depressing seeing that every day.
Right.
Oh, so depressing.
That reminds me of the classic "To Catch a Predator" pickup line, where my favorite to catch a predator pickup line of all time is some guy types in his chat log, "I can't control my horny level," which is funny to me because you don't have to send that. You can workshop that. Just because you type it doesn't mean you have to hit send. And so I know the guys at the car dealership had a whole set of letters. They didn't have to, just because that was the first thing they came up with, they didn't have to go with it.
No.
And to be fair, like on Long Island, if you ride on the Long Island Railroad, you're always going by like apartment buildings and condos, especially closer to the city. And a lot of them have like mini billboards that say, "If you lived here, you'd be home by now." So it's like, as a commuter on the train, you're like, "Oh, maybe I should live here because then I'll be home."
Well, that makes a lot more sense than the car dealership.
Absolutely, because I don't want to live in a car dealership.
No one does.
Like, I moved into my apartment in Rock Hill strictly based on the sign out front that said $29.95 oil changes.
Like, that's the coffee. That's the coffee you're going to have for the rest of your life. Car dealership coffee is the worst coffee on the planet, and I would know.
Not at the BMW dealership, Joe.
Oh.
No, BMW will, they'll spoil you.
Yeah.
Audi will spoil you, but we're
Yeah,
talking.
Subaru does a good job. Subaru's got some nice coffee.
Yeah.
Great waiting room. They got snacks. It's not bad.
CarMax coffee is just acid. It's just brown acid. It's just
CarMax.
Yeah.
get a coffee at CarMax. Come talk to me.
I will not. What? I thought that was the one that you do online. Is that? No, that's
Carvana.
Carvana. That's what I did.
CarMax does it too. CarMax does an online one as well.
I did the Carvana, and the coffee with Carvana is great because it's mine. While I'm buying a car on my phone.
That's customer service.
Mike, what's the coffee like in the jail that you just broke out of?
Wait, you have to say, you're referring to my shirt. You have to say.
Correct. And your ragamuffin hairstyle.
Right.
Joe, are you okay?
It was the
You just burned him. You just burned him so bad. He's gonna get you back.
no, I wouldn't say so bad. I'd say 6 out of 10.
All right.
Yeah, I'll give it a 6.
I'm not gonna stew about it.
I do feel like you should have a sack with a $sign on it slung over your shoulder right now.
Yeah. We made that joke earlier that I look like a hobo. So I had an answer. My answer was going to be the Phantom Zone because I thought that was a obscure and also nerdy prison. But then I actually do look like General Zod today, whose catchphrase is "kneel before Zod," which is a little questionable as well.
Yeah.
Does General Zod have a striped shirt? I forget.
Nah, but he's got a beard like this and an emaciated face, and he really wants people to kneel before him.
Mm-hmm.
He really wants you to kneel before him.
No.
He asked the president. He asked the president to kneel before him. He asked the son of Jor-El to kneel before him.
Did he ask Richard Pryor?
No.
Didn't we watch Superman 2 or 3?
Three. Yeah.
Man, what a batshit film.
Batshit is the best word for it. That is
Any movie that has a ski slope on a skyscraper is going
that he launches off. Richard Pryor launches off a skyscraper on a pair of skis.
Oh man.
Anyway.
Yeah, and Superman goes evil and sits down at a bar and starts pounding shots of Jameson or something.
I think that's what Mike Baby bases his bar visits off of.
Evil
Goes to the
Superman?
bar, he's like, I'm gonna recreate Superman 3. The bar scene.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you ever see I don't want to go on another tangent about crappy old superhero films, but I just watched something the other day on Reddit. It was the scene of the original Batman TV show where Bruce Wayne had to answer the phone, but then the commissioner calls him on the bat phone, and he's going back and forth from Batman to Bruce Wayne.
Classic.
It is freaking great.
That old Batman show is really great. I gotta watch that again. It's been a long time.
It's so
They
good.
did that on Superman, though. They did that on Superman 3. Or it might have been
with
4,
Lois. Yeah, he goes out and comes back, and yeah. That's what made me think of it.
Man. But the Superman one isn't really supposed to be funny. I feel like the Batman one, they knew it was funny, but Superman, they were still like somehow trying to be serious, kind of.
I think with Batman, everything they did on that show is like, let's try to gay this up as much as we can without actually filleting each other on air. And they did.
Nothing wrong with that. It's not any worse than Kneel Before Zod. I think that was the...
It's true.
A little more self-aware than the stuff. I don't think Zod had any idea the innuendo that he was making there.
That is kind of funny because he's from Krypton and he probably thought he was being tough and nobody kind of pulled him aside and said, Zod, I don't know.
Yeah, listen.
That catchphrase.
I think like the Annie Lennox lookalike that was his partner was more scary than him.
Yeah.
She was a killer.
That was really bad. I just watched that ski scene on Superman 3 for the first time. That was really fucking bad. Wow.
Did you just watch it now, like on your phone?
Yeah, on my phone for the first time because I had no idea what you guys were talking about. Holy shit.
You gotta sit down and watch Superman 3. The whole time you're watching it, you're gonna be like, no, I think maybe you don't have to.
It's pretty good.
I do not have to, John.
It's one of those though, like every 10 or 15 minutes you're gonna look around and be like, is this real? Is this really happening? Did this actually get made? This movie was made like this and on purpose by real people? Literally every 10 to 15 minutes you'll say that to yourself.
There's such a tightrope with bad movies, awesomely bad movies, where you either leave it feeling incredible, like that was the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life, or you leave it just like, what did I just waste my life on? I generally lost time of my existence to this piece of shit. And
That's how I felt about the movie Funny People.
Funny.
Okay.
Was that the Judd Apatow movie?
That was that Adam Sandler movie, I thought.
Some of his are so bad, dude. Oh.
It was no, but what like the one about comedians, like with Adam Sandler? No,
No, maybe it wasn't called Funny People.
Funny Games.
That's
Funny People is like a Barbara Streisand movie from the 70s.
Is it a horror movie? Is it a horror movie?
It
It's a
is.
horror movie called Funny
No,
Games.
it was, or maybe it was that
It's not terrible. It's
one
just-
of the Adam Sandler movies where he tried to be serious.
yeah, that it's Funny
Oh,
People.
We had a couple of those. Yeah.
Not
We had
good.
a couple of romantic comedies and some more
There's the
serious.
one movie with, I think Andy really likes it, and I think he posted a picture from like a payphone in Australia that was from the movie or something.
Oh, that's Punch Drunk Love. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that movie's
that's
great.
That movie
Yeah.
wasn't good.
I
I
love
didn't
that
enjoy
movie.
it.
I watched
Yeah,
that movie in the
fantastic.
back of a Party City that I worked at on my lunch break. And I remember being at my lowest point of existence.
Oh man, I love Punch Drunk Love.
I think that's just one of the
Right.
ones I watched it and I was like, I don't think I get it.
Yeah, I don't think there's that much to yet, but you know,
Yeah, who knows?
either you like it or you don't. What?
So what's this week's
I get
topic, John?
This week we are discussing favorite opening tracks to an album, which Greg, I believe you suggested, and I'm surprised that we hadn't talked about this before. This is like a great topic and one that's like, yeah, I feel like we should have covered by now. But so I'm glad we're getting into it.
Yeah, this was a really good topic.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go first, and since I'll go first, I'll describe or I'll go into detail on why I picked this topic.
Okay.
It was a very easy pick for me this week. Modest Mouse's new album just came out.
Yeah.
And the opening track to the album is one of the best I've heard in years. It's Fuck Your Acid Trip.
Yeah. I
And-
agree with that. It's such a good song.
Yeah.
I listened to it at least 3 times in a row the first time, and it just gets better and better with every listen. And it just sets the tone for the whole album,
Yeah.
which is even great. And me and Joe had to talk about it. The album as a whole is good. It's
good.
better than their last one, which came out
Definitely.
in 2015.
Which is also great. Strangers to Ourselves is great.
hmm And the thing with this song is it makes you completely forget about the previous album. And it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so like I worked a double yesterday. I listened to that as loud as humanly possible on the way to work. And it just set my tone for the day. And it was
Yep.
great. And then I did the same thing coming home. But it's a great
They're
It's a good
back on the horse, basically. I feel
yeah,
like.
that it was
Yeah.
I didn't think they had it in them for that, but man, they knocked it out of the park with that song. And the lyrical content is very funny.
Yeah, and it's weird. Just like Strangers to Themselves, they put out some songs where I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this record. And then when you listen to it in context, they're some of the best songs. But without the entire record, those songs don't stand as well on their own.
It's like there was a song that came out a couple weeks ago, and you're like, "Oh, this song sucks. It's not Modest Mouse. It sounds like a video game."
Yeah.
That when it's bookended with these other 2 great songs,
Good.
it makes so much sense. And it's like, all right, this is much better now.
What I liked is there's some songs that are almost sequels. They're not the whole song, but there's at least 2 songs on the record that are oding to older Modest Mouse songs.
Mhm.
You know that song, "We're the Places That We Wanted to Go."
Great song.
Oh, We're Lucky song. I think that's what it's called, or We
I
Are
believe
Lucky.
so.
That is oding to that song. You can hear it in the lyrics and in the melody, and he does that a few times, which is really fucking cool. And you can do that and fail brutally as a
Mhm.
writer, and they didn't. And then
It's like
they
a sequel to a song almost.
yeah, like
Yeah.
Ansel. No, not Ansel. There's a cowboy like theme song on the last record that's an ode to Cowboy Dan. So that's like a sequel.
Love Cowboy Dan.
Yeah,
I love
so
Cowboy
Is
Dan.
it the God is
He's a
a
major player.
You're
He's a
an
major
asshole.
player.
yeah, that song, yeah,
He's a
for sure.
major player in the Cowboy scene.
Mhm.
What I liked about this record is they weren't afraid to be weird. They never are, but they got extra weird, extra artsy, for lack of better words, and they nailed it. And then he uses a lot of words and he rambles and he uses words that you wouldn't expect. And they're almost doing something that you see in hip hop, which I really appreciate. I feel like Strangers to Themselves, they were tapping more into like a disco influence, where this one, they're tapping into that a little bit, a lot of space and stars and galaxy influence, but they're also coming back full circle with what made old up Modest Mouse great. So they're doing like 4 or 5 different things at once correct. And at least for me as a listener, they're like,
Right.
They're exploring new territory, and they're bringing back of why you love them and reminding you. So.
Yeah, the song, like, I've never done acid, but I can relate to it with other things, like having a bad trip, and like he, in my brain, it's like he goes away into the mountains with his friends that all want to do acid. He doesn't want to do it, but then he does. And then he's like, well, now I made the biggest mistake in my life, and he just wants it to be over. Like, I've been in a situation where I would like some things to be over, and you just have to ride it out, which is great.
Yeah.
So it was.
And it had almost like an old school punk or a little bit of Ramones influence in there, which I appreciated. Just the overall momentum of the song felt like it was a little dash of like punk in there, like classic punk.
It's mostly the drum beat, I feel like, because like everything else, like musically, is really kind of spacey and weird. But then they got that like upbeat drums that come in, which I was not expecting the first time I listened to it. And,
right.
It's a really nice touch.
I feel like it's a sequel to Sugar Boats, as there's another phenomenal song. But I love Sugar Boats. I know Joe hates it, but if you played them back to back, I feel like it would fit.
Sugar Boats?
Sugar Boats is on Strangers to Ourselves.
Oh, okay.
No, I didn't like Pistol. That's the one I don't like.
Pistol you don't like.
No, I like every song off Strangers to Ourselves except for Pistol, but I appreciate Pistol because it reminds me of Modest Mouse from their like cassette tape days where it's all just fucking weird. It's like not pleasant. It's like Daniel Johnston like level of weird, which I think must feel really good for a band like Modest Mouse to be able to put that out, because it's like, here's what we want to do more probably so than any of these other songs. It's just be
I'm pretty sure you don't like Sugar Boats.
Let me check it out.
I'm pretty sure because you think it's very cartoony.
Is it called?
I like cartoony.
Yes. Oh, there it is. Sugar Boats. I see it. Yeah, Sugar Boats. I'd have to go back and check it out. I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it's great.
So
yeah, that's my my opening track. There was a couple of other ones I thought of that I could have done like a deep dive on. I know LCD Sound System's got a good one. Gorillaz on their Self. Oh no, it's not an opening track. That's right. Never mind. There's tons, but yeah, I just wanted to keep it current, keep it fresh.
Yeah, that was the only thing to me about this is there's a lot of really good options for opening tracks. I feel like most great albums, part of what makes them great is they kick it off with the perfect song. So there's a lot of options here.
Like No Code opens up with that really chill song, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then they go into track 2, which is just like, which I love that.
That one's kind of almost, it's like a fake out opening song almost. Like you think.
But with the Fuck Your Acid Trip, I think it really just sets the tone for the whole record. They got out. I think it was like, I feel like it was their get out the frustration from the past year song.
Yeah. I could see that.
I'm going to chime in on Fuck Your Acid Trip. I listened to that song. I'm usually this is going to come up in my pick. I'm usually pretty good at calling in the first couple of seconds whether I'm going to like something or I'm not going to like it. And I listened to Fuck Your Acid Trip. And the first couple of seconds were kind of dubstep-y to me. And dubstep makes me physically ill. I don't know why, but it makes me physically ill. So in the first few seconds, it does. That's not a bit. And in the first few seconds of Fuck Your Acid Trip, I said, I absolutely hate this. And I was about to turn it off, and I didn't turn it off. And I love it. I love it. So if you've never heard Fuck Your Acid Trip and you start it up and you don't like it, hang in there.
And you know how I know you liked it so much? It's because you texted us at 6:30 in the morning yesterday saying you liked it.
I'm an early riser. That is good. I love that song. And I have a lot of Modest Mouse songs. I did an Anthony Natoli-esque list here. And I really enjoyed Dramamine, and I really enjoyed Teeth Like God's Shoeshine, which are two great.
Yeah, those are both openers for those albums too, which are so that actually I was thinking about the Modest Mouse because of the new album, and my choice I ended up going with Teeth Like God's Shoeshine as my choice because I mean that song is almost like the antithesis of what an opening track should be, really, like in any normal band's idea of what an opening track should be. It's almost 7 minutes long. There isn't really a chorus. It's kind of just a like part is like 4 different parts to it that just they sort of weave in and out of. Like, it doesn't really make any sense to start the album with it, but then at the same time, for the kind of album that is, it's perfect, because it just sort of like grabs you by the neck and like shakes you, and it's kind of like, this is what's about to happen. Like, it's like, and it's amazing. Definitely one of my favorite opening tracks of all time. And I remember the first time I heard it very clearly. Like, I had listened to Modest Mouse a bit, mostly like from friends playing them for me. I was like getting kind of into them. And then I got that album and hadn't heard anything from it yet. And putting that on for the first time, it was mind blowing. Like, not even exaggerating. Like, my mind was blown. Like, just like, what is this? What am I hearing? What is happening? This is amazing, insane, like confusing, unbelievable. I just like, I think I listened to it immediately again before I even went to the second track on the album, because I had to try to wrap my head around it.
I love the lyrics in that, where he goes, "Let's all have another Orange Julius," and he's got a lot of these like people standing in malls is a theme that comes into a lot of the older Modest Mouse songs.
Yeah.
And I watched the documentary, and they said that their town, they called it, was being their town that they loved was being mall fucked. That's what they called it, mall fucked. So they're just building all these malls in their town that they loved, and it was changing, and they were mad about that. So they put a lot of that in the lyrics, and that's why you're like, why is this guy singing about waiting for like this frozen orange drink that we all know of, like or like a Wetzel's pretzel? Why is there a Wetzel's pretzel kind of reference in this song? What's going on? So I looked it up, and that's what it is. But there's a lot of anger and cool.
Yeah, Cowboy Dan talks about that a lot.
Yeah.
Major
city coming to him.
Yeah, I didn't move to the city moved to me, and I want out desperately. There's a lot of that in that album, which is really amazing. And like, I remember hearing that, like, I never really heard anybody sing about it, but even like growing up on Long Island and like the sprawling suburbs, like there was a lot of stuff that struck me that I had never been able to put into words, like how sad malls can be, like how like depressing they're. Like, I had never been able to put my finger on it, but then like he's singing about this stuff, and it's like, my
town has the saddest mall. I think in the top 5 saddest malls I've ever been to in the country, called Square One Mall.
Where's that?
In Saugus, Massachusetts, on good old Route 1 North in Saugus. I think we have. I've been to sadder malls, like a mall, like I think I was in the Mall of America, and it was a ghost town. I know Transit was on tour, and we went to this mall, and it had everything, and there was nobody in it.
Yeah.
And it was so depressing. But my mall that I'm from, where I've worked multiple stores in, is like a zombie apocalypse mall, where there's a lot. You have, it's just sketchy. Like there's a lot of people on some kind of drug or pills in that mall, and there's enough of them where you're in there and you're like, oh, this sucks. What am I doing here? And there's enough of that where the mall is pretty bad, pretty awful. I would never, when I go back home, which I'm going back home pretty soon, that's the last place I'm going, Square One Mall. Let's say that. Not going there.
Well, that's what he says in the song. This is the malls are the soon-to-be ghost towns. Well,
yep.
Oh, that's right.
Farewell, goodbye.
He's right. They are dying.
And that was in the late 90s, so he was, way ahead of the curve, I feel like. Sorry, Mike, what were you going to say?
That song was my first exposure to Modest Mouse, and I think you said it earlier, but when I remember the first time I heard it, I remember thinking at the same time, this song makes absolutely no sense, but I totally get it.
Yeah.
I can't explain why. This shouldn't make sense. There's nothing about this that should exist the way it does, but I loved it. That whole album was unlike anything I'd ever heard in my life, and it's to this day, it is my favorite Modest Mouse album. top to bottom. So good.
Yeah.
Mine is Lonesome Crowded West.
That's a good one too.
Is my favorite because that was the first one I heard where, like, that was like the first like indie record that ever like took me as a listener like on a journey, like took me away from, like, I was doing I was in school for industrial design and my projects were super stressful and I wasn't good at industrial design, and I found myself in this major stressing out, and I remember hearing Lonesome Crowded West and I was like, this is getting me through all of this shit. Like, this is saving me right now. And for my band, take like the first thing we put out that people cared about, which made us want to tour, was called the Stay Home EP. And the biggest influences on that record were Lonesome Crowded West and Silent Majority from Long Island. So those like 1 and 2 were my biggest influences. And it was the last record I wrote on paper. I was like, I'm not using a computer. I'm writing all these lyrics on paper because that's cool. Like, I like thought of like I forced myself to do that, and I haven't done it since. And and yeah, so
that's what George Lucas does. He writes all of his movies on notebook paper, and I can't really think of anybody cooler than George Lucas. So you're right there.
Is that really true? Like everything, like the entire script?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So awesome. Because it means more to put it to paper than clicking a key. I think the action of putting a pen to paper or a pencil to paper just is more. There's more work involved, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe. So
it
means more.
I actually always wrote everything in notebooks for a really long time. Really, up until I got the iPhone and they have the Notes app in there. That's what changed me to digital. Is the Notes app, and I don't know that I'm better for it. I kind of miss the notebook, and I break out the notebook sometimes, but it's so much more convenient to just write in the Notes app, you know.
That's me with Google Docs.
Yeah, my favorite thing when the iPhone first came out, like in 2011 or whatever, is to ask everybody what they had in their iPhone notes. And you'd be out to like on a wing night Wednesday and you'd say, hey, what do you have in your notes? Because it was always something random. But then what happened is now everybody won't shut the fuck up about the random notes that they took. So that kind of backfired. I'll go ahead.
Too far.
But I invented that. All you horrible conversationalists who are pulling out your iPhones and reading your notes as a crutch, I invented that. I also invented irreverency on the internet, but that's a whole different story. So I'm going to go ahead and go.
Sure.
So I'm going to give you a bullet point outline of how my presentation is going to go. So first I'm going to say my pick, and then I'm going to read this long convoluted list of other picks I've written, and then we'll go back and we'll discuss my pick.
All right.
Y'all are doing great.
I know Greg likes a nice list.
I do like a nice list, and I'm very sad because now I have to leave.
Greg.
But I think you're all doing great. I've been listening in the background, and I'm glad Modest Mouse is finally getting some podcast appreciation.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Long time coming. Mike, Watch out for the soap in the shower, please.
All right. Wait, am I actually watching out for the soap? I don't know if you got that quite.
I think it's close enough.
Yeah. Oh man. I'm sure there's a kneel before Zod something there. Anyway, okay, so my pick is Hannah Jane by Hootie and the Blowfish. We're gonna come back to it. My pick is Hannah Jane by Hootie and the Blowfish. I think if you are going to pick the best opening songs of all time, I think the correct answers are either Smells Like Teen Spirit, Welcome to the Jungle, Straight Outta Compton, or Let's Go Crazy. I think those are the 4 best of all time, but I'm open to I'm open to discussion.
I definitely thought a lot about Smells Like Teen Spirit, and really the only reason I didn't pick it is just because it's an obvious one, and we've also talked a lot about Nirvana.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about like best opening tracks for an album, that has to be way up there.
It's got to be. I wanted to ask you, one of my favorite opening tracks, this is actually on my list, is Tidal Wave. And I am of the belief that Tidal Wave has got to be the most fun song to play and sing. Is that true?
It is very fun to play and sing. It's yeah, it is. It never gets. That's one. At least to me, never gets old. Like I feel like it's exciting every time we play it. I could be wrong though. I don't think it's the opening track though.
Yeah, it is.
Of the album title wave.
Yeah, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Oh,
it's the second track.
Oh man,
you messed up. Should have been the first one.
With the fake out on that, because I feel like that would be the obvious opening track. We opened it up with Death Wolf, which is like kind of the more like throw you off balance sort of opening track, and then Tidal Wave is more like, yeah, here's a straightforward rock song that you can get into.
Oh, this is crazy. This is like a Sinbad genie movie.
The Mandela.
Like the
yeah.
years where you go back and it's not the same.
Yeah.
Well, while I'm on, okay, well, hopefully my research is correct for this next one, but while I'm on the subject, it's another one of my all-time favorite openers is You Know How We Do. That was an opener, right?
That
Before
one
I go on.
You got that one.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So that brings me kind of to the theme of my picks here is I'm really, really good at, this is sort of a phenomenon that came up on our movie episode. It's a weird phenomenon that I don't know if you guys do, but in the first couple of seconds of hearing a song, I know I'm going to absolutely not only love the song, but whatever comes after. And that happened when I heard You Know How We Do. Like the first couple of seconds, I said, I don't care what happens from this point on. I'm going to absolutely love whatever happens. And other songs, I'm just looking at other songs that did that where, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Everclear, their opening song, Sparkle and Fade. For some reason, I was just like, this is amazing. Their debut album, Sparkle and Fade, is the first song off their debut album. The Shins.
I love some of his songs. I just don't know them by the titles.
Caring is Creepy is another one by the Shins.
Oh,
as soon as I heard, yeah, that's a fantastic opener. And then the other one that just got me from the start, and I said, I know I'm going to love whatever comes after this, is Sure Shot by the Beastie Boys. That one.
Yeah.
But cool. So I'm just going to go down my list of other fantastic openers. We don't have to talk about them, but feel free to chime in if you want to. Thunderstruck by AC/DC. I will play my game Beneath the Spinlight, brand new. Everything Zen, Once and Go, both by Pearl Jam. Boy in the Bubble by Paul Simon.
Oh yeah,
nice.
That's a great one.
Which is a great pick.
Yeah.
And then I just have Dramamine and Teeth Like God's Shoe Shine by Modest Mouse are some of my favorites, openers. But going back to Hannah Jane, Hootie and the Blowfish, that was sort of a 5 out of 10. That goes against everything I just said, and I think that's why it's my favorite song, because it was a 5 out of 10 when I first heard the album. The album had so many hits on it, and this was back in the days when I was a little less cultured. So I'd put it in, and I would fast forward to Hold My Hand, or fast forward to Let Her Cry, or No I Want to Be With You, or any number of the hits. And it wasn't until about a year later where I actually sat down with the whole album, because there's so many hits that I would just play those and play those and play those and play those. And then I sat down with the whole album, and Hannah Jane, very slow burn for me. But now it's, and I don't know if this is because I wore out the hits or what, but now it's my favorite song on the entire album. And it's one of those ones where you can play it and play it and play it and play it, and it never gets old. It never gets old. I can play it on repeat.
Nostalgic. Lyrics come across very nostalgic.
It's very southern and very summery. It makes me feel, it invokes sort of a summer in Charleston.
It's got a little bit of like that Brown-Eyed Girl influence in there lyrically. You know what I mean? Like we're going out on a summer night, like getting drunk after dark. Like, you know what I mean? It's got this very nostalgic, like this is based on something that probably happened to him, like just like one night that he wrote about. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Cool.
That whole album, he does this thing where he'll put people's names in songs, and I always have to wonder if like these are real people he knows. But I really like that. I feel like it gives it a very relatable touch. He does that throughout the whole album.
I think that songwriters, if I were to guess a number, I think 50% of the time it's people they know, and 50% it's a cool sounding name.
Yeah, and then the other percent, I know 50 and 50 adds up to 100, but Wu-Tang Clan does this all the time, where they'll come up with a word that they don't have a rhyme for, and then they'll make up a name of a fictional character. Like they'll be like, we was smoking weed and getting higher. Then, oh, watch out for Detective Dwyer. Like stuff like that. They do that all the time.
So good.
That's a good move. That is a good move. Yeah.
So that's my pick. Yeah, Hootie and the Blowfish, Hannah Jane.
Awesome. awesome.
I don't know if I've ever heard that song. I think I've still pretty much only heard their hits and their singles, which is also kind of interesting though, like that with a song that probably had like 5 pretty big hits, and they chose to open with one that was not one of the hits, which I don't know, maybe they didn't know what was going to be a hit and what wasn't, but
yeah, I always wonder about that. I always wonder about the strategy behind opening with your hit. Is there any? I'll ask you two guys.
Spaghetti at a wall. Spaghetti at a wall. I think a lot of people, because you're so close to what you're doing. You're devoting your life to these few minute tracks of sound, and you're too close to it. So you either have to form a vote. My band always formed a vote. Even some of the best songs we wrote didn't make albums, and we wrote them in the same sessions because they didn't get enough votes. You know what I mean? So that's what I would say. And then go ahead.
I would say that, like, to me, it's weird because I feel like I know after a certain amount of time of writing songs and recording albums, like, what makes for a traditional type single. You know, it's usually a shorter song, more upbeat, immediate, catchy. But that doesn't always add up to being a single or being something that people latch onto either. So, it's like you can kind of put the songs out there or in the order where you think, that they line up as far as the standard definition of what would be a single and what would be less immediate. But then, like Joe said, there is that thing too where you just never know what people are going to respond to either. So
yeah,
sometimes it's not the song that is the most immediate in your mind or the quickest, most upbeat one. Sometimes it totally catches you off guard. You never know.
I felt like the longer I'm doing things that are creative and I'm trying to focus on like my creative muscle, it's like going with your gut is the most important thing. And if you listen to it enough, you'll accomplish what you want to accomplish. And if you don't listen to enough and you ignore it too much, you'll miss the mark. And I think in retrospect, because I'm not doing music full time like you are, in retrospect, that was the biggest lesson I learned, was the more we listen to our gut, the better the reaction always was. And for us as well, of loving the songs and the material. Mm-hmm. And the less we listened to our gut, the more we kind of faltered and kind of, didn't get it exact or to get it right.
I think that's very true. I think, some of the worst thing you can ever try to do as a band or as a songwriter is try to do something like kind of set out to do something almost like it's almost always bad. Like if you're like, we were going to write this type of song, or like, I want to go in this type of direction. And then you like actively try, at least in my experience, almost is always a much worse outcome than just kind of letting stuff happen and seeing where it goes and following your gut along the way while you're just trying to create anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great pick. So I'm gonna go.
Yeah, what do you got?
So I went through 36 tracks because I call it 7-Eleven syndrome. When I'm standing in front of the drink section at 7-Eleven, I'm there for way too fucking long. It happens with ice cream as well. I'm standing there and there's too many choices. I love too much. I listen to music constantly and I like a lot of different genres like everyone else on this show. And it's just too much. So I'm not going to tell you all 36.
That is a lot.
That's a lot. I'm going to tell you my closest picks, and I chose my pick at the last minute because I went with my gut that the whole time I was going through these other songs and almost picking them, this song was telling me like, no, Joe, hello, like this is the one. So I went with one of my first picks. But okay, so most underrated opening track from the music that I listen to in my library is Crime and Stereo's their intro to Is Dead. It's fucking incredible. So underrated. I think if you haven't heard it, it's a must listen to. Crime and Stereo Is Dead. Their opening track with the drums is just fucking fantastic. If you don't know Crime and Stereo, they're from Long Island. I would consider them one of the best bands from that area. And then hip hop intros, Jedi Mind Tricks intro to Violent by Design.
Nice. Yeah.
Sample from Planet of the fucking Apes, and then it goes into some of the best vinyl scratching I've ever heard in hip hop. Just all energy right into it. So epicness of Planet of the Apes, talking about a beast man that's gonna kill everyone, and you have to stop him, and then just kind of like what Wu-Tang does with their samples, where it's like these intros to samurai movies, and just coming in, just raw drums and just perfect. And then
we don't talk about Jedi mind tricks enough on this show. They're so good.
And you know who's good is Stoop, who's putting him as an artist with samples, production, just everything. He's on another level than so many people in hip hop. He's just my favorite. He's my favorite of all time.
I would say the R.A. the Rugged Man verse on Uncommon Valor is the greatest hip hop verse in history.
Dude.
Period.
But anyway, that was pick number 2. My favorite intro of an indie album, which isn't Modest Mouse. It's my favorite intro is Death Cab's "We Have the Facts and We're Voting Yes," the title track. The song where he goes, if you don't know it, it's I rush this, we move too fast, trips into the guest room. That song, out of the park, home run.
Forgot about that.
And then
what do you think about Brothers on a Hotel Bed? I really like that one as well. That's an odd choice. That's an odd choice for an opener, but I guess not for Death Cab.
No, but I love that song. Title track as an opener, I actually like more than Bixby Canyon Bridge, which is another strong opening track by Death Cab for Cutie. Favorite heavy intro. So Converge has an album called Jane Doe, which I think is one of the greatest metal albums ever recorded. Their intro track Concubine is incredible. And if you haven't heard Converge, to me, it sounds like if you took like noise rock and the best parts of Slayer and you had a witch as a front man, but it sounds like you're getting cursed as you listen to this.
Very specific scenario that you've just painted for us here.
Yeah.
A lot of things need to come together in order for us to
It's a very artsy metal band of just raw noise and incredible intricate guitar riffs and just pounding drums. And the vocals are put into the track so they don't stand on top of the track because they want you to focus on the whole landscape, the whole sound at once. And it's just brutally crushing. And that record is that's my favorite Converge record. It's definitely the record that got them where they are and took them off as a very heavy hitter in the metal scene. But anyway, closest pick to mine was strictly on production. Fairweather has an album called Lusitania, and they have a song called Derivative Opener, and it's incredible. Wow. It's that, John, you said one of your favorite songs was Beatles' A Day in the Life.
Mm-hmm.
At like the 4-minute mark of A Day in the Life is the intro to Fairweather's Lusitania. Like that whole swelling build, stop happens in the intro of this record. And it's probably, I'd say it's the strongest intro out of all the ones I've talked about, but it's not my favorite.
Wow.
My favorite.
I'm not familiar with Fairweather, I don't think.
Fairweather, Lusitania. You might not like the vocals when they come in, but musically that record is fucking powerful. So Transit got to play with them in Rhode Island, and I just remember being blown away, and I was right up front while they were playing, and my band was like, hey man, like it's kind of awkward that you're like up front singing along. Because we were playing the show with them, and I go, I don't fucking care. Because that was one of my favorite bands at the time. It was one of the biggest influences on Transit, and I was like, I'm right up front. I don't give a shit. This band's so good. Anyway, sorry. Didn't want to go off too much on a tangent, but favorite punk intro, Creme Stereo, Jedi Mind Tricks rap, indie Death Cab, production itself, Fairweather, heavy Converge. This question that you guys gave to me was personal favorite. So one of my favorite songs of all times happens to be an opening track, and I stared with my gut. So is The Replacements. The song is called Merry Go Round. It came out in 1990 on a record called All Shook Down. It was first released in 1985. It was on a live record. It came out on Sire Records. And what I love about Merry Go Round by the Replacements is it's jangly. It feels like a deep cut, but I didn't miss out on it. You know what I mean? It's not like their bigger, catchier songs like Bastards of Young or Left of the Dial. You can hear a Beatles influence in the song, which in a lot of the best Replacement songs, you can hear they're wearing a Beatles influence on their sleeve, which I really love. It's got all the riffs. The band jams out at the end of the song and rides the song until the end, which I love. I'm a very visual songwriter and listener. So to me, this song visually just looks dusty and gritty, smoky and hazy. And it's authentically sad. You can tell when this song was written, Paul Westerberg was going through some shit. And I feel like that's the best part of the Replacements is there's no corn. The zero corniness. It's just, this is how I'm feeling. This is what it is. And that you can tell they write from their gut, which I really like. So my favorite lyrics on the song are, you wake to another day to find the wind's blowing out of key with your sky. Only you can see the rain dancing in the night. Everybody stands around in the daylight. And then the chorus goes, merry go round in dreams, writes him down, it seems. When she sleeps, she's free, merry-go-round in dreams. And it's just really beautiful. It's like some of these lines are what I love about Bob Dylan lyrics and what I love about Modest Mouse lyrics. I like when a song can kind of take you away and just say something wholesome and give you lyrics that are quick to the point and relatable. And I went on songmeanings.net and I found someone made a post on there about what they think the song's about. So this is from John Galt, 23. He posted this in 2013. He said, I believe the song is about a shy young girl who gets teased by her classmates because of her clothes are secondhand from secondhand stores and garage sales. And one of the lyrics is, and they watched you wear the clothes that they claimed that they bought. And in the fall, you knew how much it cost. So kids at her school are probably letting her know that you're from a lower class than my family and you're wearing second-rate clothes, which I think to write about that in a song is so fucking beautiful. And
that's what John Galt thinks the whole song is about. That I think that's a little on the nose. I don't know, yeah. John Galt.
You think it's one of the Replacements members explaining it?
I think John Galt needs to go back and have another listen. I think he's an unreliable narrator.
Fair. But yeah, I love the song. To wrap it up, it's one of my favorite bands of all time. There's something slick and cool with the Replacements' overall vibe. The Replacements inspired bands like Green Day, the Goo Goo Dolls, Gaslight Anthem, and the Hold Steady. The Replacements remind me of tour and being on the road, which obviously I miss quite a lot. The uncertainty of where you were, where you are, and where you're going in this crazy life is what tour is to me. And the Replacements perfectly encapsulate that. And that's why they're one of my favorite bands. And this song is such a weird, jangly merry-go-round of a song that it's definitely my favorite opener of all time. The end.
I'll check that out. That sounds awesome. Do the Replacements have any hits that I would know? I'm not familiar with any of their deep cuts, but is there was there ever a radio? What is it?
Bastards of Young is one of their biggest songs. Left of the Dial is pretty big. Androgynous is pretty big. Alex Chilton is pretty big.
You might know it if you heard it, maybe. One of those where you don't know who it is, but you're like, oh, yeah, this song when it comes on. Yeah.
They're a very punk rock band where, they did not like record labels and did not like the music industry, where they literally would put out an album called, Let It Be, just to piss off the record label.
Oh, was that the Replacements?
Yeah, so they put out an album called Let It Be, and they did stuff like that where they were kind of making sure their band wasn't successful on purpose. I think they were afraid of being successful.
Didn't they do a song about Captain Kirk? Or no, Jean-Luc Picard. I'm being totally serious.
I don't know.
Didn't they put out a song where like you go to Mexico and you tell everyone that you're Jean-Luc Picard? I'm being totally serious.
I don't.
Can you Google that?
I'll look it up.
Yeah, you look it up. No, they have a song dedicated to the guy who wrote the theme song to that 70s show. He didn't.
Oh.
He wrote a song, and that 70s show re-recorded their version. And his name's Alex Chilton. He was from the Box Tops, big star, and he's up there. I think Paul Westerberg is I'm more of a fan of his work with his solo stuff and the Replacements as a songwriter. But I love how much this guy loves the Beatles and Big Star, and then he's a writer where he's like, hey, these are the bands I like, and now that you listen to me, you're gonna know about those bands, and I love that. It's someone who's infatuated, like his first love is music, and I love that you feel that through his songwriting. Yeah, he's like a real music nerd, and you can feel it, and I like that.
Mike, I figured out what you're thinking about. It's a band called The Refreshments.
Ah, so close.
So close.
He says, give your ID card to the border guard. Yeah, your alias says you're Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Yes. The Refreshments. So close.
Yes. Now that we're towards the end, can I say a couple of the ones I didn't talk about? Just to
go ahead.
Ones you guys might know. So it's like, well, John definitely will know some of these bands, but some other honorable mentions I think are worth it. My Bloody Valentine, Only Shallow is a fucking incredible opener.
It is a good one. That is a good one. That's the only My Bloody Valentine song that I like.
It sounds like Tyrannosaurus Rex is fighting in space with lasers. Like that song is fucking crazy sounding. Hot Water Music, Remedy. It's one of the best Hot Water Music songs. It's an opener.
Yeah.
What else? Small Brown Bike, Like a Future with No Friends. Strong opener.
I don't know that one.
At the Drive-In. I don't know how to pronounce the word, but it's Arsenal. It's just I don't know when I look at the word Arsenal spelled out. At the Drive-In. Another Crime in Stereo song, Everything Changes, off the Troubled Stateside. Wu-Tang Clan, Bring the Ruckus.
Yeah, okay, all right. That's a good one. I have that on my list, but I don't like. Isn't there a little skit before that though? Yeah. I don't like the skit opener. I think that's a big miss. Okay. Dr. Dre does it. Snoop Dogg does it.
That doesn't count though or does it count as the opening track?
Yeah.
Like a weird skit thing?
Yeah. It's a track. It's an opener.
Yeah.
It's a track.
It's not a song, I guess, but.
Last one I'll say, which was almost one of my picks, The Ghost of Tom Joad.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with Thunder Road is an opener too, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Ghost of Tom Joad by Bruce Springsteen and Thunder Road. But those are all like the other ones. But yeah, man, I feel like when a band gives you an opener and lets you know, like sets the stage like a movie sets the stage, that's just an extra, it's the chef's kiss that a band can give a listener.
Yeah.
They don't have to.
That was a good topic. It's ripe for mining, that one. There's a lot of fantastic openers.
Yeah, I can't believe it took us this long to talk about that. It's crazy.
We could do best outro eventually. That could be one.
Best, yeah, the last song is always a big one to me too. And well, Mike and I think, or maybe we even talked about it on the show. I feel like Mike, you've talked about like a lot of bands, like their secret best song is like the last song on their album a lot of times.
Yeah, Something's in the Way is the best outro of all time. I will take that to my grave. But I don't think that's a hard stance. I think everyone in the world would agree with me.
Yes, everyone.
That is definitely, yeah. I mean, well, there you go. That's also,
it's done. Special bonus episode.
Yeah, that episode's done. Yeah. Well,
that was awesome. It was a good one.
Guys. Feel good about this.
Yeah.
Did some good work today.
Hell yeah. Your son would say, what work?
That's not work. The last summer.
Just talking.
You're just talking about people's hands while they're giving a thumbs up.
You're just talking. It's not work.
That's awesome. I didn't hear that. That's hilarious.
Oh, so funny.
Oh, yeah. That day, for some reason, he ended up just like listening in on half of the episode. And we happened to be talking about being eaten by an alligator and giving a thumbs up
Oh,
on the way down, which
jeez.
he found to be really funny. So that was good. Yeah.
That was a good one.
Oh man.
Very nice, guys. All right.
All
Well,
right, champions.
until next time.
Later.
Bye.